Sears. I don't know if any of you know Brad from up around Stroudsburg. The guy does a lot of burial urns. He does some pepper mills. His finishes, remind me of Al Perry's. I mean, you look into them and it's like you're looking, inches into the wood. How he achieves that is a very slow but easy process. Right? He's building up. This is shellac. And he's building up layer after layer after layer after layer, which you see furniture makers, like the old Victorian furniture, and the King Louis table. I forget where I saw that. It's on one of the wood turning videos. King Louis table, how you look into it. Anything that has chatoyance, it blows your mind, like that's even wood. To do a piece of furniture, it can take up to a year. Because what they're doing is they're doing 1 or 2 layers, letting it sit for 3 days. All hand done. We're going to cheat like crazy, which, that's what we do. We cheat on this stuff. All right, so the products we need, obviously the shellac. I have handouts here that show the mixing as you read the directions. I've got handouts for that.
Is it any particular type of shellac or just any shellac?
Brad recommended, and I think Bob Vila also recommends garnet. They have it here. At least they did. That's where I got it. I haven't used. I don't think I've used a quarter of the bag since I started doing this. When Brad was here. Takes very little, but it's thinned out, and you're using very little at a time. Right? You need alcohol. I think Brad recommends ethanol. Which I'm not keeping ethanol around because I end up drinking it. Just get the methanol, it works fine. Walnut oil, right? Any good oil will work. I like walnut oil because it seems to add richness, and when it finally cures, it cures harder, right, than any other oil I've found, pure oils. Right? And we have pumice stone. You can use rotten stone or finely ground pumice. This is ground like 10 times finer than talcum powder. Right? And again, I've got this 10 years ago, and I think I'm down to about here. And I mean, I'm not even neat about it. I'll dump it out and dab in it, which you'll see how we do it. Right? So that's really all the ingredients you need, except for rags. You want to use a soft cloth. Old t-shirts work great. Old sheets, pillowcases, that's what tonight's lovely champions are. Cut them into chunks about 6 inches by 6 inches or slightly bigger. Right? I'll go through a lot of these. I don't like to reuse them, just in case as the shellac gets hard, after about maybe a half an hour, if you let it sit, I'm afraid if I hit it again, it's going to scratch it. You want to keep them as soft as possible. And obviously it's scrap, so who cares? Right, so first thing we do.
Mostly cotton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody recommended, I'm trying to think who that was. That might have been Ted. A good sport tube sock. Because it's got the inside, it has that, what do you call it, the absorbent section, and the outside is a nice fine. And they say it absorbs better, and I guess it spreads this stuff out. I've never used a tube sock. They go to the dogs.
Do you vacuum the rags first?
Nope.
Okay.
Wash them.
No,
You mean to get the fibers off?
Yeah, I will take my shop vac and stick it into the shop vac and just
I never
pull
thought of
any
that.
loose dust or fabric or any, like from cutting them apart. Yeah, that's,
Good idea.
yeah, just to make sure there's no little, stuff.
All right. 2 types of wood that we all work with. A lot of it's walnut, which is an open grain. All right. Lately, I've been using a lot of maple.
Seat over here if you want.
I'm looking for someone.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We want to start. I did 3 out of the same, basically, piece of wood. All right. Started with the first, and I don't have these things finished. They're just made to slap on the lathe. Sanded to 600. For furniture, you can get away with 400 because you're doing mostly flat big areas. Doing on a lathe, I would recommend taking it to 600 at least, if you want to take it further. So the first thing we do, get it sanded to 600 and kind of get a feel for, because 600 to me is not necessarily 600 to you. Some people can sand extremely good. I'm not that great at it. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is season the wood. This is already, the cylinder has already been done. I'm going to take all this stuff back around here. It's a little tight back here. And the beauty of this is if you screw it up, you can pretty much just wipe it off and do it again. But this is something I save for, I'll say it was really special. I don't know, a couple years ago I did a vase out of koa. I brought it in for show and tell. Didn't like the finish, stripped it all back, and then French polished it on the lathe. It took about 3 days. I did it pretty slow. It was for the boss. And the chatoyance. Anything that really has chatoyance, like your curly maples, if you have koa, some of the neat pieces of mahogany, I think it's African mahogany, just turn out unbelievably with depth. All right, so we're going to start this on very slow. I got this at 100. I think it's at 100. 105.
So if your lathe doesn't go that slow,
You don't have to get on that low. This will say I'm saving mess for
because the lowest mine goes is 400.
400. You can just stop it, do it by hand. It doesn't take, this part doesn't take that long. All we're doing is loading up our cloth, spread it around a little bit. I let it, the chunky stuff. They recommend you filter this through cheesecloth or, but with a little bit of alcohol. And you'll see I'm going to get this covered, and I'm going to thin it out even more. This is a 1 pound cut. Like I said, the handouts up here have the ratios. And I'm going to keep doing this till I get a nice coverage, and it's going to get, you can feel it get sticky. It'll really drag.
What do you mean by a 1 pound cut?
It's how much of the shellac chips, ground chips, you're mixing with alcohol. I think Brad actually suggests for this part, a 2 pound cut, really just to save time. But this is the simple part, so an extra minute is not going to really. And here's a point where Lydia just said, I have a fiber right there.
Yeah, I always vacuum my bags first.
I don't know if you can hear this, the drag. All right. When you start hearing that, the alcohol is washing out, and it's starting to really stick. What I'm doing is trying to get the shellac into the pores. All right. I'm going to hit some alcohol on the pad, same pad. And I hit this about 3 times, back and forth, until it starts dragging again.
And what is that doing?
All right, it's forcing the shellac into the pores of the wood. That's all we're doing at this point.
So you're basically sealing the wood.
Kind of. Because actually we're going to essentially strip it back out. Which sounds kind of weird. But I hope this works. I don't like this lathe. I'm trying to speed this thing up now. I'm going to let that run for about 30 seconds to a minute. kind of push out any more alcohol and let that kind of harden. Oh, and yeah, definitely cover your lathe bed with paper, plastic. What's that?
Or
Or shellac. I just redid the entire bed of my lathe.
So what is the benefit of balling up one and putting it in the other instead of just holding it flat?
It'll absorb more and make a nice soft pad. Did it work? That's actually a very cool feature.
You like the lathe now?
No. But I would love to have where I could just bop back and forth from like 1500 to 100. All right, so we got that hard. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of this pumice. And it really doesn't take much at all. You can be very wasteful with this stuff. It's cheap. Put a little pile, spread it out a little bit. You want to tighten this thing up. There's a name for this. I call it dabber.
The rubber,
What's that?
rubber.
Drubber?
They're called rubbers
Rubbers.
because you rub with it.
Okay, that works. All right. We're going to put a little bit of walnut oil on it for lubrication, and it'll help make the pumice pick up. Now I'm just going to dab on that, and then take my finger and spread it around until it disappears. Do that a couple times. We're loading this thing with the pumice.
Is it walnut oil and hummus?
Hmm? And then you can start to feel when it's got a kind of a rough slime on the top when it's no longer soaking down in. You'll be able to feel that with your finger. Right? And with my alcohol, right, I'm going to moisten that a little bit and start coming across the face of that. Pretty decent pressure at first. And what this is doing, the alcohol is actually, I want to say, melting the existing shellac, right, opening up those pores for the pumice to go in. The pumice does two things. It fills those voids, but it's also like having like a 10,000 grit sandpaper on that. So we're taking off very, very, very fine pieces of this walnut. And by having the shellac, the pumice, and that walnut, and thinning this out, it's forcing all that stuff into those voids. So basically what you're doing is flattening the hell out of your surface.
But it doesn't color it in any way.
The walnut oil, that's why I like it. I like the effect it has on walnut.
But the pumice does it.
No, this disappears, the pumice disappears almost completely. So I've made about 10 passes back and forth. Come on, you can do it.